Bonjour les élèves. Today we are going to finish our last video on numbers. So we have gotten up to number 59. Today we're going to infinity. So looking at the numbers we've had, we started with our singles. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Went into our double digits of the ones. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. It all had the Z sounds. Now we're in our big numbers. And we did 20, 30, 40, 50. So now we're going to finish them up. The last one, you see, is, well, the next one is the 60s. You see 6, you see 16, you see 60. They're all related. 6, 16, 60. Remember, we said the big numbers give you the ont sound. So just add an O there to give you a little W, and you have soixante. So looking at them, what makes these special, and we waited on these, is that you actually only learn one word to have 20 numbers. What? How did that happen? Because the French do not have another number for 70. So where we have the word 60, we count to the number 9, and then we go, new word, 70. The French do not. They just keep counting. That's why if you don't know your teen numbers, you're going to have some trouble. So you got to make sure you know both of them. So look at the first word, soixante. It's like the word six with an extra little O, and then our ont. So, soixante. The number one has the and. Soixante et un, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, and you keep going. So 67, 68, 69, 60, 10, 60, 11, 60, 12, 60, 13. Just keep counting. It's kind of like math. 60 plus 10 equals 70. So 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79. So you're going to say 60, 61, 62, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 60, 10, 60, 11, 60, 12, 60, 13, 60, 14, 60, 15, 60, 16, 60, 17, 60, 18, 60, 19. So if you mix up and you don't know your single number versus your big number, you're going to be off by 10 numbers. That's a problem if you're dealing with money. So what comes next? Well, I guess they got tired after coming up with the number 50 and coming up with the word 60, because after that, everything's repeating. So 80 is just the word for 4 and the word for 20. Why? 4 times 20 equals 80. So if you know the word 4, 4, you know the word 20, 20, that means you know the word 80, 80. And they did not come up with a new word for 90, so you just keep counting like you did with the 70s. So 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 86, 87, 88, 89. Keep a-counting. 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99. So 4 times 20, 10 plus 19. Yeah, I know, a little strange. But now we get to the big numbers. 100 is 100. That's where we get the word century from, or centimeter. There's 100 centimeters in a meter. There's 100 centuries or 100 years in a century. And that's the word. There's 100 cents in a dollar. That's the word for 100. Cent. You don't hear the T, though, in French. Cent. So if you want to say 110, you would just say 100 and then whatever little number you want with it. 10, 110. So if it was like 105, you'd say 105, whatever number you want. They just put together. If you want to have more than 100, you just put the number in front, just like English. 200. The only difference is in French, you'll notice they add an S when you have more than one of the hundreds. So 200. If you wanted 900, 900. Just put them together, just like English. Now over here, we have the word mille. Remember the last letter of French words is silent, so mille. Mille means 1,000. That's where we get the word millimeter. 1,000 are in a meter. Millennium, that's 1,000 years. So mille is 1,000. So if we want to say 1,000, 1,200. And by the way, in your notes, there's a typo. You might want to change that to a 1 instead of a 2. So 1,200, 1,200. 2012, 2012. So again, you just put your numbers in front and after like you would in English. Million, guess what, is million. Doesn't change. Now, a little weird thing that's different in other countries versus us is when you are dealing with numbers, in English, we use the comma when we have big, big, big numbers. In French and other languages, they don't. They use the decimal point. So what do they use when they have a decimal point? You guessed it, a comma. So they flip-flop. So it's a little different than us, where we use a decimal point in a number, they use a comma. Where we use a comma, they use a decimal point. So that's one of the little cultural differences. So let's take a look at this next one. 325,957. If I said, hey, you're going to say this, you'd be like, yeah, no, I'm not. Yep, you can. Take it word by word. You can say any number that exists because they're just the little words next to each other. So write it in English first, how you would say it. 325,957. And then just take each word. 3 is trois. 100 is 100. 20 is 20. 5 is 5. 1,000 is 1000. 9 is 9. 100 is 100. 50 is 50, and 7 is 7. So now you put it together, you have 325,957. That's a lot to say, but you put them little by little, it's really easy to do. There, we've had every number into infinity. You can come up with any number you can think of, and you'll be able to say it. Some of the other words are the same. Million, trillion. Say they don't really change that much. So use your notes. You have all of these, even the thing about the commas, in your note packet. So don't forget to use that for reference. Au revoir.